Welcome to the deep dive. We take sources you're interested in and, well, pull out the key insights you need fast.
And today, we are definitely diving deep.
We're looking at Alfred Adler's psychology, specifically through the lens of that huge bestseller, The Courage to be Disliked, or P-SIL.
Right. And our guide here is a YouTube video breakdown by Weinsoner.
Yeah, and apparently this book really made an impact on Wayne. Said it felt like being hit on the head, and that understanding it could genuinely shift your perspective.
It certainly resonated. I mean, selling over 2 million copies, that's significant. And our listener wants to get to the core of Adler's ideas quickly, figure out what it means for them.
So our mission today, unpack what's presented as the main arguments from the book, focusing on things you can actually, use.
Okay, let's jump in.
So the big takeaway, the central conclusion, according to the video, is pretty bold. It's that all our problems come down to interpersonal relationships.
All of them. That's Adler's big claim.
And the solution? Basically, stop needing everyone to approve of you. Let go of that need for approval.
Which, as Eyes points out, might really hit home if you often struggle with feeling, well, inferior or not good enough.
Yeah, it's a powerful idea. That the thing we often crave most validation is actually the roadblock.
It flips things on their head. Instead of looking inward for some flaw, Adler says, look at your connections, your interactions.
Okay, so the first specific point covers is this shift, moving away from ideology.
Cause and effect thinking.
Right, moving from that to teleology, which is about purpose.
Exactly. So instead of asking, why did this happen, based on past causes, Adler asks, what is the goal now? What purpose does this behavior serve?
Okay, that sounds a bit academic, but the example makes it clearer.
Yeah, the video uses the example of a boss yelling at a subordinate.
The usual thinking is, okay, the subordinate messed up, that's the cause, so the boss yells, that's the effect. Simple.
But the Adlerian view, as presented, looks for the purpose behind the yelling. Maybe the boss's goal isn't just reacting to the mistake. Maybe it's to assert power.
Or to make sure the subordinate doesn't dare defy them again. It's about the boss's aim.
And the video presenter admits, this feels counterintuitive at first. We're so wired for cause and effect.
Totally. And then, as Lee makes another great point, the same mistake might get a different reaction from a different boss.
Exactly. One might yell, another might handle it calmly.
Which suggests it's not just the mistake driving the reaction, it's the boss's underlying goal or purpose in that moment.
Which really makes you think about your own motivations, too.
Oh, yeah. I've even shared that personal reflection about sometimes using a louder voice, to try and win an argument or...
To achieve a goal, essentially. Intimidation as a tool to reach a purpose.
Yeah. It's a bit uncomfortable to admit, but probably relatable for many of us.
Yeah. And the takeaway here, the really freeing part, is don't be trapped by past causes. Don't let your dark history, so to speak, define your present actions.
Right, like the examples in the video, blaming your parents' divorce for your inability to have a good marriage now, or a lonely childhood for being bad at communication.
From an Adlerian perspective, those past events aren't really the reason you can't achieve your goals now.
They might be explanations we use, maybe even excuses.
Possibly. Adler suggests they can be excuses to avoid facing, say, the challenges of building a relationship or the risk involved in connecting with people.
So the past is irrelevant to your current goal of having a good marriage or communicating well.
According to this view, yes. The focus should be on what you need to do now to achieve that goal. Treat your partner well now. Practice talking to people now.
It connects to that idea of living in the now, but gives it a purpose-driven spin. It's not just being present. It's being present with a goal in mind.
Precisely. Using the present moment intentionally to create the future you want, regardless of the past.
Okay, that's a big one. What's the second point from the video?
The second point is the separation of tasks. In Japanese, it's kadain no bunri.
Kadain no bunri. Okay. Separation of tasks. What does that mean practically?
It basically means focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. Know what your job is and what someone else's job is.
Ah, the horse to water analogy. Use that one.
Exactly. You can lead the horse to water. That's your task.
But you can't force it to drink. That's the horse's task.
Right. And we often get tangled up trying to do the horse's task, don't we? Trying to control things beyond our control.
Like trying to solve everyone else's problems or worrying endlessly about what someone thinks of you.
The video gives the example of the salesperson working hard but feeling unappreciated by their boss.
Yeah, so your task is do the work. Get results.
Yes. Your task is to perform your job to the best of your ability, act with sincerity. The boss's task. To evaluate that performance.
And their evaluation, their opinion, that's their task, not yours.
Exactly. You can't make them appreciate you or evaluate you fairly. That's ultimately up to them.
Hmm. So what do you do if you are unfairly evaluated? You just accept it.
Not necessarily accept it passively, but you focus on your tasks in response. Maybe your task then becomes looking for a transfer or finding a different job or documenting your work clearly.
Ah, okay. You take action within your own sphere of control.
Yes. What you don't do, according to Adler, is make it your task to change the boss's mind or personality that's intruding on their task.
And as the video notes, trying to change other people, especially older folks, it rarely works anyway.
It's usually wasted energy. Better to focus that energy on your own tasks.
And this connects directly back to that need for approval, the Atin Shonin Yoki.
It really does, because if you're constantly seeking approval, you're essentially making other people's opinions, their task, your main goal.
Like choosing a university or a job just because it looks prestigious and you think others will approve?
Right. You're letting their potential evaluation dictate your life choices. That's the opposite of separating tasks.
It becomes all about managing their perception of you.
Which is exhausting and, Adler would argue, ultimately unfulfilling.
Did acknowledge that, especially in societies like Japan, there's a lot of pressure to seek approval.
There is. But the encouragement here is to try and shift focus. Focus on your own tasks, on what you genuinely enjoy or find meaningful, rather than chasing that external validation.
Find satisfaction in doing your part well, regardless of the applause.
That's the idea. Cultivate that internal compass.
Okay, that leads us to the third main point from the video. This one sounds intriguing. Don't create vertical relationships.
Yeah.
Adler believed all human beings are fundamentally equal, even if roles differ. We shouldn't structure our interactions as inherently superior-inferior.
So no hierarchy in relationships, even with like a boss or a teacher. The relationship itself should be horizontal, based on mutual respect. Even if the roles involve different responsibilities or authority, it's about the fundamental human connection.
Okay, and this leads to that really surprising piece of advice. Highlighted, don't praise others.
Yeah, that one makes people pause. Praise seems so positive, right?
Totally, like, good job, how can that be bad?
Well, the Adlerian reasoning, as explained in the video, is that praise inherently creates a vertical relationship. The person giving praise is positioning themselves as superior, able to judge the other person.
Ah, I see, the person praising is up here, evaluating the person down there.
Exactly, and it often stimulates that very need for approval we were just talking about. The person praised starts working for the praise.
The video mentioned company reward systems and praising bosses.
Right. While well-intentioned, they can inadvertently create, as Narrow puts it, slaves to approval. People become dependent on that external pat on the back.
Okay, so if not praise, then what? How do you encourage people or show appreciation?
The alternative proposed is gratitude, saying thank you. Arigato.
Thank you instead of good job. How is that different?
Gratitude is horizontal. You can thank anyone, your boss, your peer, your child, someone who helped you on the street. It doesn't imply a hierarchy.
Right, thanking someone doesn't mean you're evaluating them from above. It's acknowledging their contribution or help.
And crucially, it doesn't hook into that need for approval in the same way. It's an expression of appreciation for the act, not a judgment of the person's worth contingent on performance.
So society might push praise and competition, but happiness comes more from contribution and receiving thanks.
That seems to be the perspective, finding joy in contributing and being part of a community based on mutual respect and gratitude, not evaluation.
But then added a really important caveat.
Yes. Don't make getting gratitude your goal either. That just replaces one form of external validation seeking with another.
Ah, right. Don't do things just to be thanked.
The focus should be on the act itself, maybe doing things for people you care about, finding satisfaction in the contribution itself. The video mentions Chigomen, self-satisfaction.
Self-satisfaction, doing it because it feels right or fulfilling to you.
Exactly, at that internal motivation rather than relying on external reactions like praise or even thanks.
Okay, so wrapping up the main points from the Honin's take on the book. 1, focus on purpose, not cause. 2, separate your tasks from others. 3, Aim for horizontal relationships using gratitude, not praise.
Those are the core pillars presented in the video. Pretty challenging ideas, really.
Definitely. But then adds their own little rule, or Sir Adam style rule.
Which is?
Remember, we are not Adler.
Huh. Okay, that's important. What does that mean?
It means basically don't turn Adler's ideas into a rigid dogma that makes you miserable. These concepts are insightful, but trying to apply them perfectly, well, it can backfire.
How so?
Like, if you completely reject any influence of the past, you might end up just blaming yourself harshly for everything, right?
Yeah.
Ignoring that past experiences do shape us, even if they don't have to determine our future.
That makes sense. Or becoming super strict about never praising anyone could feel really unnatural or cold in some situations.
Exactly. It might damage relationships if you take it too literally without nuance.
And we have to acknowledge most of us grew up soaked in environments that do value approval and praise. You can't just flip a switch overnight.
Right. The video suggests Adler's psychology is meant to lead to greater happiness. If you become overly rigid or beat yourself up for not being perfectly Adlerian, you're kind of defeating the purpose.
So use it as a tool, not a cage.
That's a great way to put it. Use these ideas, focusing on what you can control, not being defined by the past, aiming for respectful connections as tools for your own happiness.
Integrate them thoughtfully, not rigidly.
Okay, so for our final thought, for you listening, think about those three main ideas: cause versus purpose, separating tasks, horizontal relationships. Which one feels most relevant to a challenge you're facing right now?
And maybe, just maybe, how could you experiment with applying that one idea, even in a small way?
Yeah, experiment gently. And remember that Saratama rule, be kind to yourself in the process. It's not about achieving Adlerian perfection. It's about exploring ways to feel a bit freer, a bit happier.
Focusing on progress, not some impossible ideal.